Hello peeps, right, we're back. Welcome to the Court of EDI Jester. Tea. We're back in Scotland. North of the border. Further north. Not cold enough here. Right, so hello Scotland. Good morning. Buy me a coffee. Become a warrior teacher. Send me a super thanks if you can. End of the month's approaching. This is always a nervous time. Puberty blockers. We're back there again. I came across this on the Twitteroids, and I thought, yeah, this is a nice article. This is a good article. It's well written, and it articulates the point very well. And I'm certainly with this gentleman. This is from Azim Ibrahim. Thank you, Azim. And it's in the health section of the Herald Scotland. It's an opinion piece. It's not, but it's very important in terms of what it's saying to the people of Scotland about the situation regarding puberty blockers. I mean, Scotland's gone completely insane at this point. They're celebrating they've got the PSHE with all the gender identity in it. I think main government needs to step in, and we need a moratorium. PSHE needs to stop. It should remain the purview of parents. I think government can't do it because this is what happens when you allow them to. Like most things, government can't do it. What a surprise! Now, so what Azim's got to say, I think, is important. So here we go. We cannot allow activists masquerading as experts to have the final word any longer. An open letter sent to the Wall Street Journal last month came and went without the public attention it sorely deserved. Signed by 21 leading experts on paediatric gender medicine from 9 countries, they wrote to take issue with the US Endocrine Society's statement that so-called gender-affirming care is best for minors presenting with gender dysphoria. Gender-affirming care is code for the belief that hormones and surgery is the best and primary treatment for gender dysphoria, since it purportedly reduces the risk of suicide. How many times have we heard that myth? What was it they said? Was it mermaids or one of them stoned one of these cranks? Better a live trans child than a dead one. It's just, that's how far they'll stoop. So he's saying here that purportedly reduces the risk of suicide. You know as well as I do that's nonsense, but I'm hoping there'll be more explanation of that in the article as we go. The experts mince no words. The belief is not supported by evidence. There we go. Rather than cherry-pick studies which fit the narrative, the experts used far deeper meta-studies which found evidence of mental health benefits to be of low or very low certainty. None then. The risk for minors of puberty blockers, I shouldn't laugh really and say none like that, but that's the trouble. When you do these sort of scientific studies, see, it's either proven or not proven, in which case they've got to go either end of the scale, haven't they? Even if you get to the bottom, they can't say, well, it's rubbish. It's just all utter nonsense. They can't say that. They have to say low or very low certainty. Whilst in the back of their mind, they're giggling, going, yeah, it's just cobblers. That's what I like to think. It is of very low certainty. The risk for minors of puberty blockers and surgeries, including permanent sterility, regret, and lifelong dependence on repeat surgeries and medications, are very real. Furthermore, the experts wrote that the claim that gender transition reduces suicide is contradicted by every systematic review. Get your head around that? Even the Endocrine Society's review found no reliable evidence that hormonal transition prevents suicide, yet they have no qualms promoting it. That's a hard one to get your head round. You can read it because it's in the Dubris, so if you want to have a look at it again, do. So there's 2 things there, right? Let's do them again because I think they're important. I can clip this, can't I? Let's do this and see if I can clip it. The experts wrote that the claim that gender transition reduces suicides is contradicted by every systematic review. Get it? No, not good. Second one. Even the Endocrine Society's review found no reliable evidence that hormonal transition prevents suicide, yet they have no qualms promoting it. That's the 2 clips, isn't it? See if I can clip them, because that's good, isn't it? Right, that's what you want to hear. This is something that every parent across Scotland, deep in their hearts, knew already to be true. that surgery and hormones are unlikely to resolve the underlying mental unwellness that troubles their children. We live in a world where gender distress has increased in prevalence by several thousand% in the last 2 decades. But to question the longevity of those feelings or to describe them in the context of mental health is denounced as transphobic and as provoking suicide. Parents face ultimatums about the suicide of their children, despite there being no good reason to believe that puberty blockers will help them. Yeah, don't work. Now, I didn't need a systematic review to tell me that, but we need a systematic review to convince others who are going to legislate, right? That's what we need, because you can't convince TRAs, TRAs and their nutter supporters, because they're not even living in logic land. They're just mental. Okay. So this weekend at Manchester Pride, they're going to have family pride, where everybody's waving the trans flag and talking about trans joy and queer joy, in the full knowledge that what they are doing is pursuing a pathway in which iatrogenic harm is done to children, in which, by inculcating the idea that this is the thing, trans, into children, that they are leading them down a pathway that will harm them forever. And will, I imagine, harm society as we brutalise these children by putting them through this ideological meat grinder. Manchester Pride this weekend will be celebrating that. Think on that. Manchester Pride, celebrate the iatrogenic harm of gender on children. It's hard to swallow, isn't it? As Dr. Paul McHugh noted all those years ago, when children who reported transgender feelings were tracked without medical or surgical treatment at Vanderbilt University in London's Portman Clinic, 70 to 80% of them spontaneously lost their feelings. Spontaneously. As in, oh, right, okay, and moved on. Unless you celebrate it. Unless you begin the process or the trans train by, for example, taking your child to Pride Family Day. In the vast majority of cases, the best approach is to love your children and take no medical intervention. Yet, according to the Telegraph, figures show that 98% of children who were given puberty blockers went on to be given cross-sex hormones. Blockers are dangerous and irreversible in their own right, but they also lock in children to even more devastating outcomes when they would likely have recovered from the dysphoria without intervention. If only doctors had let them. It is not reality that is causing most of these young people to commit suicide. It is collaborating with a mental disorder with body and mind altering drugs. Thank you very much for this piece, Azim. I haven't read it all again, so you have to. Azim wrote it, you can read it, won't kill you. The man wrote it. I just assumed the gender there. Could be wrong. Look, this is not complicated, really. We know now, don't we? We know. Yep. The truth of the matter is that the minute you start affirming this stuff, the minute you give this stuff even the slightest move towards reality. I was watching a video last night, and on it people were discussing this. And it was about, I suppose, what do we do next? Which is the big question that vexes everyone, is what do we do next? And I think we have to simply isolate this and treat it for what it is, which is a cult belief, and then explain it as a cult. And that becomes part of PSHE, so that the kids understand that it's a cult. And also, we have to make sure that detransitioners are centred, so that they can tell their stories. Schools are going to eat this up, you know that, don't you? Because they're generally, schools generally are staffed by lovely people with, who like to think they're lovely people, who like to virtue signal, unfortunately. Not all of them, but some of them. And some will grasp it, and they'll be running the LGBTQI plus clubs at the end of school and all the nonsense that comes with it. But if you want to have a look, go and have a look at the Manchester Pride website and see if you can find the Family Day. They're pushing it like you wouldn't believe. It's an entire trans thing this time round. And every child that goes to that, every child that watches the parade is going to be led to think that there's something normal about this when there's nothing normal about it at all. Go read the article. Great to speak, as usual. I'll see you later. Ta-ra, folks.